Ino traveled to the Tau Ceti star system aboard a Coalition cruiser. Just under 12 light-years from Earth, it was deep in human territory. Tau Ceti contained a debris disk, filled with far more space dust than could be found around Sol. As she stood on one of the observation decks, Ino peered out to see the Coalition starfleet that was going to be participating in the upcoming war games. She could see most, if not all, of the starships that were going to participate in GALEX, docked at the main starbase. Human, Kodronite, Cyanite, Beer, Hulfir, Magwigol, Tycan, and Woolhub vessels were lined up in neat rows and covered in scaffolding. Spacewalkers worked feverishly to modify the weapon systems on each Coalition warship, and Ino knew why. Over the course of the journey, she had been given a stack of documents to read, courtesy of Coalition Military Intelligence, the organization she now worked for. During the 4-day flight, Ino had brought herself up to speed on GALEX and her role in the large-scale wargame. Galactic Exercise Number 15, GALEX 15 for short, was going to be a 2-week-long simulated battle between the Coalition and a fictitious enemy simply known as the Red Fleet. According to wargame documentation, the Red Fleet was supposed to represent the Destican Astral Fellowship, an authoritarian theocracy that was just starting to emerge as a possible future threat. The Fellowship controlled nearly 200 star systems and frequently carried out mass abductions of sentient life forms to either enslave or use in religious sacrifices. Only a few humans had been taken so far, but Earth was already starting to become concerned. Ino paid attention to interstellar news, so she was aware of the recent controversy enveloping the Fellowship. Nearly 200,000 slaves had escaped from Fellowship territory on a convoy of stolen starships. The most widely accepted theory was that the escapees had outside help. Ino flipped through the pages, studying the upcoming battle simulation. The GALEX wargame was supposed to be an opportunity for Coalition leaders to investigate and explore new strategies that were currently untested. Most of these ideas were developed during the Border War, where Coalition forces were pitted against the neighboring Empire of Expental. It was also a chance for crews and officers alike to test their skills, equipment, and tactics in a simulated conflict that would attempt to match real battle conditions as closely as possible. Admiral Garnett, a career officer who had been doing this job for over 25 years, would command the Coalition fleet during the wargame. The UN military, which normally defended Earth, was going to roleplay as the Red Fleet, under the command of retired General Ermal, a citizen of Turkey and former commander of the UN Army. General Ermal was forced into retirement when his controversial reputation caught up with him, and he was best known for the successful pacification of a planetary revolt 10 years ago. Ino was roused from her studies by the chime of the comm system. "Incoming message for Ensign Esperanta," said a computerized voice. "Play it on channel 1, Ino replied, setting her paperwork down on the coffee table. A two-dimensional hologram appeared in the open space between the coffee table and the wide window, obscuring Ino's view of the starfield beyond. The hologram depicted a Coalition military officer. This bipedal life form was not human, but a Kodronite. The Kodronites are a race of lithoid people native to the planet Simon. Alongside humanity, they were one of the founding members of the Coalition. Ino, like most humans, perceived the Kodronites as men made of stone and mud. The holographic Kodronite officer, dressed in a Coalition uniform, stood at the position of parade rest and began to speak. "Ensign Esperanta, I am Commander Fannin of the Kodronite Navy. I will be the simulation controller responsible for your ship for the duration of this exercise. I'll meet you aboard the Op-4 frigate Defiance no later than 0600 tomorrow morning. I'll give you your mission assignment then. That is all." The hologram faded. Ino picked up her papers. Yes, sir, she muttered. Ino took some time in her quarters to make a few final preparations. She applied a small amount of makeup and tidied her hair before double-checking every part of her uniform. Ino had grown up believing she was too ugly to attract a boyfriend, primarily because her parents had said exactly that for the first 18 years of her life. Only a few short years ago, in college, did Ino discover she was considered very attractive by most people she spoke to, and she was still enjoying the ego boost this revelation came with. Once she was satisfied with her reflection in the mirror, Ino packed her bags. It would be a short journey through the Tau Ceti starbase to her first ship assignment. The UNS Defiance was not the glorious first assignment Ino was expecting. The ship was old, very old. Defiance was a heroine-class multi-role stealth frigate, the very last of her class to be accepted into the Coalition Navy. According to one of the reports Ino read, all heroine-class frigates would soon be retired from service, doomed to the scrapyard and shipbreakers. This wargame might be the final moment of glory for the aging Defiance. Ino took stock of the vessel as she walked its corridors. The frigate was armed with 6 torpedo launchers, 4 hull defense guns, and a pair of point defense lasers. She also spotted a symmetrical deformation in the ceiling of Deck 3, indicating the presence of a retractable cloaking sail. So, this is a stealth frigate, made for hit-and-run attacks, Ino mused to herself. Okay, I can get creative with this. On Deck 1, Ino found the bridge. The commanding officer was there, talking to a person Ino recognized at once. Admiral Ruel, she said, snapping to attention. The admiral she had met in Guyana looked as though he was still getting his space legs. He swayed unsteadily as he turned to face Ino. It's good to see you again, Ensign Esperanta, Admiral Ruel said. I've been tapped to be the master simulation controller for a few days of the upcoming wargame. Commander Tulani, I've told you about this, junior officer. I assure you, she will perform admirably as your TO. Pleasure to meet you, the commanding officer spoke in a deep grumble. He sounded very patient, but Ino could detect a slight trace of annoyance in his voice. I am Tulani, UN Armed Forces, normally assigned to the Umbutfo Eswatini Defense Force. Ensign Esperanta, UNAF, originally Armed Forces of the Argentine Republic, Ino replied, shaking his hand. I thought the Southern African countries were only participating in the coalition through SANDF. She was referring to the military of the Republic of South Africa. Commander Tulani allowed himself a small smile. The past 10 years have seen the integration of UN forces into the coalition progress at a phenomenal pace, he explained. The individual states of Southern Africa are now able to participate directly in both the UN military and the coalition. I am very proud I can serve under my own nation's flag for a change. He proudly thumped the red, yellow, and blue Swazi flag on his shoulder. Admiral Ruel, who wore a Brazilian flag, clapped his hands approvingly. Representatives of the former Global South reunite for training. I'll get that into the next UNAF newsletter. In the meantime, introductions and explanations. Commander Fannin, you're up. The Kodranite officer from Ino's hologram message approached from the other side of the bridge. After introducing himself, he began to explain. The frigate Defiance will be a key player in Operation Devil's Courthouse. Our objective will be to test the ability of coalition super capital ships, such as battleships and carriers, to defend themselves against smaller vessels equipped with stealth technologies. Your mission will be to carry out a simulated attack run against the coalition battleship Betria. Once complete, you will retreat to a position of safety. Admiral Ruel will observe the action from his ship, the science vessel Oppenheimer. I will stay here to act as an observer, and I will have a counterpart stationed aboard Betria. And will experience real battle conditions? Commander Tulani asked. Yes, sir, Admiral Ruel answered. All weapons will be disconnected and replaced with laser-based sim weapons. The ship's computer will register any hits, and corresponding systems will be deactivated to simulate damage. I have also written a guide on how you should conduct damage control training, should your vessel take any simulated hits. Very good, Commander Tulani replied. Ensign Esperanta, go downstairs and get settled into the CIC. I'll be relying on you down there. I'll do my best, sir, Ino replied, injecting confidence into her voice. Ino did as she was told. The Combat Information Center, or CIC, was located one deck below the bridge and was a very cramped space with room for only 4 humans. The CIC contained numerous computer banks and displays that allowed Ino to have a continuous feed of crucial data. She could see the latest readings from external sensors, decrypt and read radio traffic, view reports on the ship's internal functions, and see the video feed from security cameras placed all over the vessel's interior. The clatter of footsteps told Ino that Commander Tulani and Admiral Ruel had followed her. As Tactical Officer, it is your duty to closely examine all incoming sensor data and radio traffic, Commander Tulani said. You will then triage all of this data and send it to the bridge in order of importance. You will recommend alternative courses of action when I ask for them, and, when necessary or appropriate, you will generate mission objectives. Ino turned to face the commander. Sir, am I free to set my own criteria for the importance of combat data? Yes, Tulani replied, ignoring Admiral Ruel's sudden expression of surprise. Another question, Ino pressed. Who are my teammates? Normally, the CIC is operated by a team of tactical officers. Admiral Ruel raised his hand. I can answer that in my capacity as the Master Simulation Controller, Ruel said. I created the scenario and will be acting as the combat judge, so to speak. When I set up the wargame scenario, I decided to handicap this ship. Normally, the Defiance runs with a team of 4 tactical officers. Admiral Ruel pulled a slip of paper from his pocket, unfolded it, and read a note from the middle of the page. Here it is. The Defiance has suffered personnel losses due to a previous missile attack. 2 of your tactical officers are incapacitated and will not be available for the duration of Operation Devil's Courthouse. 2 tactical officers, Commander Tulani said. Are you saying my ship is expected to operate with the CIC at 50% efficiency? That is correct, Admiral Ruel said. In this battle scenario, the Op-4 fleet is scripted to be unprepared and in disrepair. Now, Commander Tulani, I'm told your ship's weapon systems will be fully converted to laser simulators in an hour's time. After that, your other tactical officer is supposed to arrive. When that happens, you will be given all of the relevant intel you need for the simulated attack run against the Betria. Admiral Ruel took a moment to stare intensely at Ino. She felt awkward and had to force herself to keep looking at the Admiral, fighting the impulse to lower her head until he left. As soon as the Admiral departed, Commander Tulani said, This is your first wargame, correct? Do not allow the Admiral to alarm you. These sims are always asymmetric. This time, the Red Fleet will be disadvantaged, but sometimes the Blue Fleet is handicapped instead. On rare occasions, both fleets are intentionally handicapped. It is all about learning, training, and developing new tactics and strategies. For now, get yourself acquainted with the CIC. This will be your home for the next few days. Now please have a little patience. I'm going to see if I can get your teammate here any faster.
You're walking down a well-worn road. Something changed, but who would know? The smiles you get are poisoned well. The color you once knew is killed. And as you realize what's wrong,